We are thrilled that all of you, reporters, writers, editors, photographers, and publishers, are with us tonight. Joining me is Fran Carpentier, our fantastic dinner chair, who will take over at the end of tonight's festivities as the, as the incoming president of the Silurians.
It really is no cliche when I say that there is nowhere else I would rather be than here tonight in the Grand Gallery of the National Arts Club to honor the award winners for their outstanding work over the last year. First, I want to begin by thanking the awards co-chairs, Alan Dodds-Frank and Michael Serrell, and our awards co-coordinator, Ben Long, and our website guru, Mel Leitner, as well as all of the judges for all they did to make these awards possible. I also want to give a special shout out to our indefatigable treasurer, Karen Bedrosian Richardson, who balances our books with remarkable patience and downright finesse, and whose dedication to the Silurians Press Club constantly and exponentially exceeds all expectations. And just wait until Karen tallies up all the receipts for tonight's extras. More about that in a few minutes. This evening, the Excellence in Journalism Awards will be given in 15 categories, emphasizing local coverage and impact. First, a housekeeping note. The award presentations will begin as soon as your main course is cleared. And now I will call on two former Silurian presidents to the podium, Betsy Ashton and Tony Gaida, to kick off the evening.
I want to say something about the certificates of merit. You know, when you got invited here, that's because you did excellent work. Whether you win a medallion or whether you get a certificate of merit, you're here because you deserve applause. We want you to stand up. And boy, do we need people like you now, right? The whole world needs people like you now. So you are going to be celebrated. Now I want to say something about the medallion. This is a magnificent piece of bronze that... This is the cookie. You all have a cookie, which is quite wonderful, and it actually looks like this wonderful design. You know, this club started in 1924, 101 years ago, by two retiring editors of the New York Times, and they picked the name Silurians because they were muckrakers and wanted to find when, you know, things emerged from the muck. And so it was the Silurian age, and therefore we got our wonderful name. It was Society of Silurians for a long time, but now Silurians Press Club, because otherwise no one would enter. They wouldn't know what the hell the Society of Silurians was, right? Anyway, so enjoy your cookie, but here's the thing that we want to give you and that we used to give you until last year. We are going to give it to you. But the problem is there seem to be some issues with getting the materials and perhaps the staff that does the work in the foundry, the intricate work to make these marvelous bronze medallions. So you will get one if you are a medal winner. We want your name and address because we will send them to you.
We have a brilliant dinner chair who's going to be the president, and she takes up a lot of our time. She's really kind of, what is that, O.C.D? What is that? She's, anyway, she's over the top. But she's got a brilliant imagination, and in terms of the medallion winners, she's got a little bit of a surprise for you. Come up here, Fran.
For the second time in a row, let me say that despite my reasonably distinguished 35-year career in magazine journalism, I stand before you tonight as a shiksa in the shmata business. That's right. Medallion winners tonight, as a placeholder for your actual award,
I'll hold it.
you will receive one of these custom-made T-shirts. And for those of you who may not be able to see clearly from where you're sitting, it reads, "My medallion is stuck in the Strait of Hormuz." Now, for some of you, the shirts might run a little bit large, but you can sleep in it, you can wear it to the beach, you can twirl it, or my personal recommendation, you can roll it up, stuff it in your mouth so that you can't scream the next time Barry Weiss kills off another 60 Minutes correspondent. And now, it's time for dinner and for more alcohol.
I told you she was brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, and there are a few of each here, you might know it got brighter in here, and that's because we have a television camera back there, or at least a video camera who's going to videotape this whole thing. And he's also our great videographer, Steve Speliotis, is going to take, he's got a camera, not a video camera, a thing that takes pictures. I think it's called a camera. And every time a medallion winner comes up and accepts his or her award, and will stand here with one of those very funny T-shirts, he's going to take a picture of you, so look your best.
A picture of you with the medallion.
With the medallion.
With the medallion T-shirt.
With the fake medallion, the
Because
cookie.
the medallion is still at the Strait of Hormuz,
Right.
and will finally get mailed to you if you've got to give us your name and address. This is serious. So we can get the damn thing out of the foundry and mailed to you.
So what we're doing, Betsy and I, is trying to kill a few minutes while the dessert comes out,
passed.
which is really good looking.
It's
and I
good.
actually think we should sit down because I would like to eat that. But there is, speaking of dessert, everybody's got a cookie medallion in a little envelope, a little plastic envelope, not plastic, whatever it is. But you all have one of those cookies, and you see that there's a QR code on it. And there's a surprise. The QR code, if you put your camera on it and go to it, is going to take you to the Silurians website, and we hope you'll join up and become a member, even if you're a hitman or something. You don't have to be in journalism. But the one secret about this is that there is one cookie, QR code, that if you scan it, will take you to an award where you're able to buy 10 shares of SpaceX for $100. $100. So aren't you glad you came here tonight? Because somebody's going to be a billionaire when they leave. Not a trillionaire. There's only one of those. Billionaire.
Tony, it's
Can we
always such a
start?
pleasure
Should we
working
start
with you.
now?
I think maybe, did everybody get their cake? Is it coming? Oh, it's just in the process of coming. It's really good.
All right,
All
we're
right,
going to start
I think
handing
so.
out these awards, and we hope you're going to stick around for that. The first category, Betsy, is breaking news.
And the medallion goes to Bloomberg News for An Evening of Terror, a series of fast-moving reports about the gunman who killed 4 people in an attack at the National Football League's offices at 345 Park Avenue. Bloomberg was the first news organization to delve into the gunman's motive as a person who had suffered brain injuries as an amateur football player. Bloomberg's fact-based coverage also helped the public's understanding of the event and dispelled false information, including word of anti-Muslim conspiracies that began spreading online. Here from Bloomberg, Amanda L. Gordon, Hema Parmar, and Laura Nahmias. Come on up here.
But thank you so much to all of you for this. We're so honored to receive it, and I wish our other colleagues who were instrumental in writing this story were with us, but they're here in spirit. But yes, this story is a quintessential New York story. It's a quintessential business story. It was critically important to get information out to the public as quickly as possible, especially coming so soon after the shooting of the United Health CEO and in the middle of a mayoral race that was really delving into a lot of very deep feelings about anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, and at a time of really heightened concern about income inequality and people's, in the business community's fears about being targeted. And so we were, and also as the new-ish police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, faced one of the first really critical tests of her tenureship as commissioner, and also of her own very personal ties to one of the victims in the case. So we were glad to and worked very hard to make sure we got everything out very quickly. And thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you. We just... You will eventually receive these, but in the meantime.
I'd rather have the shirt. No. This is fantastic. Thank you.
And now we want us to see the Certificate of Merit winner. The certificates are over here, by the way. You all get to take them home. It goes to Business Insider for its comprehensive coverage of the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. And do we have anyone here from Business Insider tonight? I don't think they were able to make it, but anyway, they did a fine, fine job, because all of you deserve applause.
And we're going to move on and welcome to the podium our co-chair of the awards committee, Michael Serrell, who happened to have been the head judge in the category Feature News. Michael, where are you? Here he is.
Hello, everyone. We had the most entries in this category of all the 15 categories, and there was some great stuff. But the other judges and I didn't have to get far into Joe Goldstein's O.C.D. story before we said this is the winner. It's a fascinating tale of a guy who succeeded in staying in the fire department for 20 years, concealing his severe OCD. And Joe Goldstein will come up and tell us more.
Every now and then you happen upon an obscure person whose life story is so unusual that you have an overwhelming need to put them in the newspaper, ideally on the front page. It doesn't happen often. It's happened to me maybe 5 or 6 times. But there was a guy in the Bronx who made a living by sitting in police lineups and recruiting his friends to do the same, and a Guantanamo detainee who, after his release, became a battlefield ally of the United States in eastern Afghanistan. And in 2024, I stumbled across Timmy Reen, who'd worked as a firefighter in the Rockaways with a severe case of obsessive-compulsive disorder. He faced torment and adversity while being a stand-up guy on whom his fellow firefighters could depend. He was raising a family and found great pride in carrying on a family tradition in the FDNY. But his OCD kept getting worse, and his compulsions more extreme and strange. And he suffered terribly. And then came the pandemic. And when the city mandated that firefighters get a COVID vaccine, firefighter Reen sought an exemption due to mental illness, and things only got worse for him then. I'm grateful for the trust that Timmy Reen placed in me when he spent hours telling me about his life, sharing secrets that he'd once closely guarded. And most of the action in the story takes place inside Timmy's head or in the close quarters of a firehouse at the edge of the city. I've been extraordinarily lucky to have editors on the Metro desk who knew just what to do with this story. Sarah, Nestor, and Bill all helped shape this story. Bill especially improved the writing and structure. And this is a real honor, and thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we're all about local journalism for our awards, and this is a prime example of the best local journalism, as is the merit winner in this category, is a story that was labeled Lonely at the Top by the editors of the New York Times, the tale of a chef on the 100th floor of one of those super tall buildings who manned a nearly empty restaurant because people just, the residents didn't want to go in the building. And so it tells his story. Very good.
Thank you. We're going to go to our third category tonight, the investigative reporting. And we have the chair of the other co-chair of our awards committee, whose name is, what's his name? Oh, of course, I know him like my own hair. Alan Dodds-Frank, investigative reporter.
Thank you, Tony. I want to echo Mike Searle's remarks about what a treat it was to read all the entries, even though one of them was 68 pages long. As you will hear later from Eileen Jacobson when she presents the President's Awards, there were lots of fine, in-depth stories reported last year. The Medallion for Investigative Reporting is won by Jesse Coburn, who apparently has a few fans in the room, writing for Streets Blog, an online publication. His stories about the Moped King, how an ex-delivery worker upended the streets of New York City. Over 8 months, Jesse chronicled the rise of Zhu, I probably didn't pronounce that correctly, a Chinese bicycle delivery man who became an entrepreneurial fraudster who, if you can believe this, took public a company called Fly E-Bike that blanketed New York City with unsafe electric delivery bikes. I mean, you may recall recently one of these scooters killed somebody on the Brooklyn Bridge. Anyway, Jesse now works for ProPublica and is here to accept the medal. Jesse?
Thank you to the Silurians for this honor. I started reporting this story because I was amazed a few years ago by the sudden proliferation of e-bikes and mopeds in the city. And despite all the attention they were getting, mainly for the fatal fires they were causing, no one was really talking about where all these vehicles were coming from or who was bringing them here. And the answer turned out to be this tiny, tight-knit circle of entrepreneurs who were operating at the margins of the law and who had zero public visibility despite having transformed how large numbers of New Yorkers get around. I was grateful to get to spend some time in their world, so all credit to Streets Blog editor and self-described legend Gersh Kuntzman for supporting this story. And Streets Blog reporter Sophia Leibovitz, who is here, deserves our applause as well for her excellent ongoing coverage of this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. And the merit certificate for investigative reporting goes to Newsday, which there's nobody running the store tonight at the Newsday because they're all here. The story that won the merit certificate is called Unprotected, and it was reported by Sandra Petty, Grant Parpan, Sherry Einhorn, Nicole Fuller, and illustrator Neville Harvey. Stand up, folks. One up. Next category is business and financial reporting. The winners are Alyssa Katz and Debbie Nathan from the city, which come right up while I have a little more to tell the folks about you and the city. Come up. The city, by the way, is now known as the City Reporter. So, make sure you change your computers or whatever to make you get Get that thing, whatever it is. City Reporter. Debbie Nathan and Alyssa Katz are taking home the medallion for the terrible truth about Sridhar, the Brooklyn's beloved billboard dinosaur. Now, this is I hear one, and this is a beauty, and you'll talk more about it, I hope. The story, going to give you the name again, The Terrible Truth About Sridhar, Brooklyn's beloved dinosaur on a billboard. The story began as a look into the demise of a Brooklyn billboard showing a hand-painted pink brontosaurus and the disputed sale of the building beneath the billboard. And their digging produced an awesome tale of two fraudster brothers. It's hard to believe that. Three fraudster brothers. Do we hear four? No.
Their dad, too.
Who were busy stealing property deeds from unsuspecting people. Alyssa Katz, by the way, was recently named editor-in-chief of The Forward. So she's not here tonight. And Debbie Nathan, she is here. Oh, they told me you weren't coming. Congratulations, not just for the story, but for the promotion. Shall we call it the promotion? You're now the editor of The Forward. Oh, fabulous.
And I'm meeting you, which is a great honor as well.
Well, that's terrific. Anyway, is your partner in this story not here tonight?
He is not here tonight.
Okay. So we're going to let you hear from Alyssa Katz for the rest of the hour to explain how never mind. Alyssa, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Tony. And seriously, thank you to Debbie Nathan. So the City Reporter, formerly known as The City, does not normally take freelance pitches. We're staff written, or they are staff written. However, when Debbie, who I've worked with for many years, actually starting at City Limits, I know City Limits is in the house, came to me with a question. She said, do you know real estate records, or does anyone in your newsroom know how to use ACRIS, which is the city's real estate database? And I said, why, yes. Why do you want to know? And she talked about how she'd started looking into why this pink dinosaur billboard in Brooklyn had disappeared. And she had talked to the former owners, and they actually had a legal case where they claimed the property had been stolen from them. And when I started looking at the public records and websites she had found and so on, to just help her, for me to figure out if there was a story here, was there a story we could publish, anything like that, I came back to her after some time in the records, and I said, Debbie, I think these guys are using fake names. I think they're not at all who you think they are. And so that began our journey into the wild world of Sridhar and these brothers who were, in fact, notorious slumlords who in the 1990s or 1980s had been prosecuted for assaulting their tenants, kidnapping their lawyer, the tenant's lawyer, and were all over the papers in town and had reinvented themselves under these new fake names and had proceeded to then bilk multiple property owners out of their property. So I want to really thank Richard Kim, who's here from the City Reporter, for understanding that sometimes an editor actually just jumps right into the story and becomes the reporter, and Marty Gottlieb, who is not here, who worked with us, who's phenomenal. And just really helped us see this wild story across the finish line. I also want to congratulate Simi Horowitz, my colleague from The Forward, who I'm very excited to work with, who's also going to be honored tonight. And just thank you all for this honor.
The merit certificate in this category goes to Sophia Leibowitz. Of Streets blog for a story called Closing the Instacart Loophole. Betsy?
Thank you, Tony.
Here's all this stuff.
Do you have it all? Okay. Next up, we have the Medallion for Science and Health Reporting. The medallion goes to Sam Mellons of New York Focus for investigation into leading edge insurers. In this multi-part series, Mellons exposed leading edge an unscrupulous New York State health insurance company with a history of fraud and shocking mistreatment of doctors and patients. Accepting is Akash Mehta, the editor-in-chief of New York Focus. Come on up here.
Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, I'm the editor of New York Focus. We cover state government. And this investigation was just one of these, things that a reporter hands you on a platter and you just say, my God, how did you do this? Sam has been with us since day one. He was a co-founder of Focus. We launched in October 2020. And this story was about Leading Edge, a company that New York picked to manage the health insurance of hundreds of thousands of our lowest wage workers in the home care industry. Whose founder, his reporting revealed, was convicted of insurance fraud and whose entire business model was telling patients that it would cover their bills and then refusing to and leaving them with debt. He spoke to 6 former employees of this company who told him things like, every day I would watch the door because I was worried federal agents were about to barge in and arrest us all. And this year, the company in charge of this whole transition fired Leading Edge. And so these home care workers are going to have better health insurance as a result.
The merit certificate goes to Erica Fry of Fortune for how big data and an A-list board turned struggling NYU Langone into a $14 billion hospital powerhouse. Congratulations, Erica Fry of Fortune. We're glad to have you here. Wonderful. Now then, it is always time to cherish environmental reporting. Oh, my God, do we need that? The medallion goes to Mariana Simoes of City Limits for New York approved a major gas pipeline expansion. What does it mean for climate change? In this well-crafted multimedia investigation, City Limits climate reporters Mariana Simoes and Patrick Spouster offered an in-depth look at New York's controversial approval of a plan by the Iroquois Pipeline Company to substantially increase the flow of fracked natural gas in contravention of New York State's landmark 2019 climate bill. Accepting Mariana Simoes and Patrick Spouster. Come on up here. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for this honor. First, I want to say thank you to Patrick for making the story come alive with his graphics and his incredible data reporting. He doesn't want to speak today, so I will speak, but I just want to make sure that you know that he's awesome. And I also need to, before I talk about the story, to thank my husband, because I now work at the Boston Globe, and I came all the way from Massachusetts to be here, and he's at home with my 3-year-old so that the pregnant mama can have a break and enjoy her evening. So thank you for recording that, because I'm sending it to him later. So this story started with a simple question. I wanted to understand why my gas bill kept going up. And it turns out that most of your gas bill, you're not paying for the actual gas. You're actually paying for all the pipes that the gas companies are putting underground quietly, but slowly, but surely, and then sticking us, the customer, with the bill. So now we're at a breaking point where we're not building enough clean energy to be able to switch away from the gas system. And this expansion keeps happening so that you are stuck paying this bill for the next 20 years. So it is a bleak thing, and I think we need climate reporting more than ever. And sadly, we're at a point too where we're not talking enough about it. Most people don't know that this is happening. The average person doesn't. I didn't know. So I'm glad that we got the opportunity to shine a light on the story. And the Iroquois Pipeline Company has approved, New York has approved a project, even though they said they were committed to moving away from using gas. So anyway, I'm no longer a climate reporter now, but I think a lot about the state of our planet. I cover education now, which is something that's also important, but you know, having children, I think a lot about the planet that we're going to inherit. And I think we're at a point now where the future isn't so bright in terms of where we're headed for planet Earth. So sorry for the bleak note, but I think at the end of the day, that's what we do. We keep local news reporting alive so we can keep shining a light on these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. The merit winner in this category is Chantal Riley, a freelance environmental reporter and contributor to PBS's Science Friday for Small City Pays a Price for PFAs.
Okay. We're moving.
Yes. Tony.
We're moving on to arts and culture reporting. Let me put this thing down. And it's, I guess, sort of appropriate if you're going to win a medallion for your work in that field that you win it here at the National Arts Club. And the medallion co-winners, we have co-winners in arts and culture reporting are Michael Kimballman of the New York Times and Holland Cotter of the New York Times. And the reason they win is for their superb reviews of the superb renovation of the Frick Museum. Michael and Holland, come on up.
First and most important, I want to thank the Silurians for this award. And I would also like to thank the technical crew who made my piece and Michael's wonderful one on the Frick's architecture awardable. They include visual producers and designers Maridelis Morales Rosado, Leo Dominguez, Gabriel Jando Orly, and Josephine Cedric. Most important, however, are the terrific photographers and video makers Adriana Glaviano and Lila Barth, who are both here tonight and made our stories look beautiful on the page. And I want to thank my editor, Barbara Graustark, who is tireless and did a wonderful job editing. Thank you. About the Frick, I'll just say that I've loved that museum since I first was a kid and visited it on a pre-Christmas trip from Boston with my parents in 1959. We were coming down to see the just-opened Guggenheim Museum, but a winter afternoon at the Frick is what I best remember. That's when I saw what is still my single favorite painting in any New York museum, Giovanni Bellini's late 15th century St. Francis in the Desert, in which, placed together in a cosmically vast Umbrian landscape, the saint, a small donkey, a heron, some cows in a distant field, and a flight of swallows high in the sky, all look equally down to earth and blessed. Some years ago, my sister Consuelo Mack and I moved our mother from Boston into a New York apartment within walking distance of the Frick. And she went there at least a couple of times every week to linger over the art, listen to lectures, meet friends old and new, and have tea. It was a happy place for her, as it was for me in 1959. I'm grateful she had it and that I got to write about it. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have both Holland Cotter and Michael Kimballman from the Times here tonight, and we applaud, and we should again, your work. The Merit Award in the Arts and Culture category goes to Simi Horowitz of The Forward. Stand up, Simi. Stand up. Is she? Oh, there you are. She's standing up. That's good. Thank you, Simi, and you'll get your thing over there. Okay. The Merit Award, the piece that she wrote was for her recollection and appreciation of the movie the groundbreaking movie Hester Street, and the late Joan Micklin Silver, its writer and director. Now, for something completely different. Who said that? Sports reporting and commentary. The medallion goes to Kevin Armstrong's Diamond in the Dirt, which transports the readers of New Jersey Advance Media into the world of financial intrigue, swirling around a young potential NBA star player named Ace Bailey. And I'm sure that Kevin will tell me if I pronounce that right. But anyway, Armstrong did a 9-month investigation into Bailey's career. He traced the hoopster's path from childhood in Chattanooga to Rutgers basketball and the National Basketball Association. So let Kevin Armstrong tell you more about it. Where are you, Kevin?
You did get the pronunciation right there. His nickname's Ace, and from the first time that I heard about him, he was coming to Rutgers, star recruit. Rutgers doesn't get many of them. We went down to Chattanooga, and his great aunt is Venus Lacey, who was on the Olympic team for Team USA back in the 90s. And I remember she took me to his childhood home, and she told me, she just drove up very slowly, and she pointed to the second-story window, and she just goes, "Kevin, you see that window?" And I was like, "I do." And she's like, "Well, when Ace would, be young, he'd get in trouble, and if Grandma came around, he knew to run." And I said, "Okay." And she goes, "So one day I came home, and he was flying out that window, and he landed in the yard." And she goes, "We knew he could jump from the beginning." And I was like, "I'd like to know more about Ace Bailey." And we did a full profile / investigation. He had an agent who was his travel coach, and he's sitting on the floor courtside at Rutgers all season long. And here was Governor Murphy, was courtside on one side, and here was Omar Cooper. And we heard through the grapevine that maybe he had a criminal background. And I've done plenty of research in court system and whatnot, and I'm like, all right, let me just type in Omar Cooper and just see what exactly we're talking about. And it was possession of a weapon, and I'm like, all right, that could be any number of things. And then it was like .. machine gun. And then I was like, all right, let me ask, get the full case and everything. And it was like, Black Uzi was waived at fellow citizen or something like that. And I was just like, all right, so we need to look at Omar a little deeper here. There are characters in this world, and Ace Bailey is just one of these unbelievably likable kids who won the genetic lottery, unbelievable athlete and everything. And then there's unscrupulous agents like Omar Cooper, who are also out there, especially in the NIL era, and kind of needs to keep an eye on. We aired all the kind of dirty laundry of the relationship, and Ace was drafted, by the Utah Jazz, and before he got to training camp, he broke up with Omar Cooper as his agent. Just kind of, a lot of people kind of advised him, said, maybe Omar's not, best to keep around for the professional era and everything. So appreciate the honor, and definitely amazing story to kind of take it.
Thank you, Kevin. Now, one of our most esteemed categories is editorials, commentary, public service. This year, the Medallion for Public Service goes to Newsday. Newsday assigned a team of reporters and editors to conduct the most ambitious and sustained examination of traffic safety ever undertaken on Long Island, culminating in this award-winning piece, Dangerous Roads. Newsday is well represented tonight with the owner Patrick Dolan, his wife Louise, yes, and a fantastic team of reporters and editors and photographers. So Newsday, come on up here.
I got on Long Island about 3.5 years ago and noticed a dead swan on the LIE. But the reporting started when we started seeing an uptick in young people dying in fatal crashes on our roads. And I asked David Schwartz, who's the lead editor of Dangerous Roads, do we have data? We need to do more on this. And It kicked off a year-long series because one person told me we'll do big investigations. Our readers will read it and then forget about it the next 2 days. So we wanted to do a year-long series. I'll have David say a few words about it, but it literally took over 100 journalists across all departments, including our TV station, our marketing, business, promotions, over 100 journalists in our newsroom. It was a big, big effort. So, David?
It was more than a dozen articles, databases, videos, just really incredible work from the whole team. Ariel Martinez, Alfonso ran our newsletter that we launched on this. Pat Dolan, incomparable owner, and Rochelle, who launched us on this. And just this month, we did a story that Suffolk County started or increased their ticketing for dangerous violations by 25% last year. So it really felt like, and I really believe that we made a difference, and that's why we're all here. And thank you.
Now, the Merit Certificate for Public Service goes to a series of alarming stories by Jan Ransom, Bianca Polaro, and their New York Times colleagues for exposing the brutal beatings and murders of inmates by guards in the New York State prison system. Congratulations. Well done. Now then, another big category for us is people profiles. Ben Cesario of the New York Times takes home a medallion for his searing pretrial portrait of Sean Diddy Combs. As a New York Times music reporter, Cesario covered many of the highs and lows of Combs' unruly life. His profile weaves these and new revelations together to complete the picture of Combs and his alleged crimes. Here is Ben.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say thank you so much for this honor. It's really great to be recognized by fellow journalists. It means so much to me. And we did cover the Sean Combs story and are still covering it and his appeals and everything. From the earliest accusations against him and lawsuits through the building of the criminal case. And as we were getting ready to cover the trial, my editors, Kevin Flynn and Karen Gans, sat down with me and they said, we need to do a big profile of him, tell his whole life story from when he was a kid through his rise to fame and sort of how it got to the whole, the problems that he was in, the terrible things that he was accused of. And I remember there was a part of this discussion where it was sort of abstract about, well, we'll do a chunky section about this and a section about that and get an expert to talk about this. And I was like, but it's a profile about somebody who's in jail. Like, I don't have access to the subject. And I remember Karen said, just do it like an obit. And like that I understood. So once I had that instruction, it came together. And so anyway, I'm grateful to the Times for devoting resources to cover that case in great depth, and to my editors who I wish they could be here tonight so I could thank them. And thanks to all of you again.
Wonderful, thank you. Now the merit winner is Alex Vadukul of the New York Times for The Last Lucille Roberts. A wistful portrait of the last survivor of what was once a beloved New York area chain of more than 50 women-only gyms. And wonderful. Is Alex here? Yes, thank you. Wonderful. Congratulations. Well done. Now then, we move on to Minority Affairs reporting, and Hanan Adali, the Minority Affairs reporter for NorthJersey.com, The Record, wins a medallion for civil rights for minorities. 3 stories describing the plight and the hope of immigrants under Trump. Hanan cannot be here this evening. Accepting for her is her editor, Liz Johnson. Liz, come on up here.
Thank you so much for this honor. We're really grateful. And yes, it's great to be in a room full of esteemed journalists as yourselves, thank you so much for letting me be a part of it. For years, Hanan covered immigration and the Arab American community for The Record and NorthJersey.com. But since the Trump administration began, we expanded that beat to a broader one, to civil rights, especially the rights of minorities. And in 2025 and so far this year, her scope of work has covered free speech on college campuses, how AI blurs the facts of wars and the chaos that follows when lawyers ignore orders from immigration court judges, and many, many, many other things. The three stories that we selected to enter into this award, it was really, really hard to choose. I'll just say that we're really grateful for the honor. And the third story that we chose is probably my favorite. It was many, many, many years of reporting and months of reporting this year in 2025. Imprisonment, murder, extortion, why U.S. deportees to Haiti are being targeted by gangs. And because of Hanan's work on this topic, it affected change in our court system. We found in 2025 that her investigations uncovered the systematic detention and torture of criminal deportees to Haiti and the extortion of their families. And when the burden of proof of their torture, it was too difficult for the courts to prove until Hanan's reporting. So those heart-wrenching stories are about what happens to people who are forced to return to a country they never knew to begin with, and Hanan made a difference in their lives. So just thank you so very much for this award.
Right. Now, the merit winner is Michael Elson Rooney of chalkbeat.org for Dreams Detained. And in a series of stories on the impact of Trump's aggressive immigration crackdown on the students at a Bronx high school, that was Dreams Detained. Excellent work. Congratulations. Tony?
Well, Betsy just mentioned the aggressive immigration crackdown by the president, and here in the city, one of the most shameful and shameless iterations of that is behind our next award, and it comes in the breaking news photography category, and it goes to Ben Frachtenberg of the City Reporter. He collects the medallion. Come on up here, Ben. He collects the medallion for a story entitled Arrests at 26 Federal Plaza Shock Migrants at Immigration Check-ins. I think, and you can correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think it was the City Reporter that first broke the fact that the ICE crackdowns in New York were happening not on factory floors and not on the streets, but at court, where these immigrants were going to answer legal subpoenas or whatever you call them, and trying to follow the law. And instead of being able to accomplish what they went there for in good faith, they were arrested. And Ben and his folks at the City Reporter were on top of it. And we thank you for that, Ben. Come here and talk about it.
Thank you. And it is true. We were on the ground there to document what was happening when people first started to be arrested at immigration court. And as you all know, just to back up a little bit, we recently rebranded as the City Reporter. And when we did so, I got a phone call out of the blue from a media reporter who wanted to ask me about the rebranding. And the first question was a usual question: what do you think about it? What does it mean? Why are you deciding to rebrand? And like any good reporter, his second question caught me off guard. He asked me, what do you think AI means for photography and photojournalism? And I had to think about it for a minute. And I said, you know what? It means that photography and photojournalism is only more important and more vital. And it's only more vital because our shared sense of reality depends on reporting facts. It depends on having a shared vision of our humanity. And images are so vital to that. When we talk about events, when we talk about the Vietnam War, I know what pops into most of your heads. It's that little girl running down the dirt road covered in napalm. When I talk about World War II, I know what pops into your head. It's the image of the Marines raising the flag over Iwo Jima. And we need to defend that. We are in an existential battle for reality. And that is what we, as journalists, all here, need to think about every day. That is our stead. That is our responsibility. And when I go to 26 Federal Plaza and report on immigration and try to visualize the incredible reporting that Gwen Hogan and others, Rosalind Adams, Heidi Chu, at the City Reporter have uncovered, that responsibility weighs on me heavily. Because I am trying desperately every day to capture that reality, that shared reality that we all need to hold on to our sense of our humanity. And I think it's vital for us to continue to do that and to fight every day to do that. And I thank you so much to be here in the city for giving me the opportunity to do that because it's so important and I'm so blessed. Thank you so much.
Ben Frachtenberg, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ben. The Merit Award in this breaking news photography goes to Newsday photographer Howard Schnapp for a final salute in which he captures hundreds of firefighters giving final salute to a fallen Long Island colleague. We move on to feature news photography. That medallion goes to the New York Times for Jonah Markowitz's compelling photo essay on death in the New York City subways. The photos accompanied a story headlined, "They Witnessed Death on the Tracks and Then Struggled to Get Help." It's about transit authority drivers who have struck and killed people on the tracks and can't get help for the stress, the post-traumatic stress that they encounter. And let Jonah Markowitz come up here and accept his medallion and tell you more about it.
Thank you. It's an honor. Although at this point, I'm kind of convinced that I got the award just because I can fill out that Silurian T-shirt. It's pretty large. And also, I have to apologize for my voice. It's still on loan to the New York Knicks for their incredible run. I can't believe we've made it until 9:26 without them being mentioned. It's pretty incredible. On a more serious note, the coverage came out of me being a lifelong New Yorker and seeing a lot of coverage of people being struck by trains and no one ever talking about the operators who witnessed their last moments and then are requested by the MTA to go out and find their mangled bodies and then direct FDNY to take them out. And then the MTA gives them 3 days off and says, good luck, you're back to work. Either that or they have to go through workers' comp. So that's how the story came about. I want to say a few thank yous. First and foremost, thank you to Thomas Seller, Nyoka Baptiste, and Edwin Gitti, the operators who allowed me into their lives at a very tender moment. I'm honored by the trust that they placed in me. A big thank you to Anna and Bianca. That's Anna Lay and Bianca Polaro. They were my reporting partners in the piece. To Jorge Garcia Spitz, who edited the 90-second films that are in the piece. To Michael Laforgier, the investigations editor, who shepherded the project over the finish line. And to Eve Adelheit, the photography editor, who stuck by me and this project through thick and thin. I'm so very grateful. Thank you, everybody.
I wonder what you think is the over and under on the fact that next year, this award will go to a photographer who takes a picture of the the Knicks. Could be, and it could be taken by this year's winner of the medallion, who is Noah K. Murray of Newsday, for walk-off win. It is an image that captures the exhilaration of the New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso after his ninth inning sacrifice fly last May, I think it was, that propelled the Mets to a 4-3 victory. And is Noah here? He's not here because I wanted to ask him a lot of questions because I'm a big Mets fan. And the first question I wanted to ask him is, does he know what happened to Pete Alonso? Whatever happened to him? I mean, he's... Never mind. Obviously you're not baseball fans. Okay. What? Oh. The Mets suck this year. Part of the reason, and I can expand on this, but we have other... Oh, you're speaking for Noah. Good. Whatever happened to Pete Alonso? Come on up. I should know who you are. And John Keating. John Keating. From Newsday. Nice to meet you. Good to meet you. They don't tell me anything. They send me up here with a script. They tell me nothing. And I'm sorry to embarrass you, leaving you standing there. But come on up and talk about it.
Yeah, just quickly, on behalf of Noah, I wanted to thank the Silurians for giving him the medallion. When this photos first came in, we all saw that it was something special. We look at a lot of celebration pictures, and we never saw anything quite like that. So thank you again. Congratulations, Noah, and thank you for recognizing this picture. Thank you.
They suck because of hubris. There's something in baseball now called a president of baseball operations. It's a euphemism, or it's a big title. Used to be called general manager. And this guy who took over the Mets because the billionaire that owned him wanted him so bad, decided that last year, the Mets' underperformance meant he had to rip the team apart, and he was going to build his team. See, this is about ego and hubris. I'm going to put my stamp on this club. It's going to be my team, and we are going to the future with glory. Well, he's full of shit. And even though this is off the record, you can report that. Okay, go Knicks. Tomorrow, anybody got room in an apartment on Broadway that I'd love to be part of that tomorrow. Anyway, we have a Merit Award winner in this category of sports photography, and it goes to Newsday, to Thomas A. Ferrara. Hi, Tom. And he wins for another baseball shot. Happens to be another shot of a Mets player, pitcher, who's actually one of the few still with the Mets, right? Yeah. He didn't get shot. Anyway, the picture was called "Go Play in the Rain." And Thomas, congratulations on your Merit Award. And of course, it's over there later for you to collect. Betsy.
All right, breaking news. We're into breaking news. It's tough to cover on live television and video. But the team from ABC's Channel 7 Eyewitness News once again distinguished itself. This year, they win the medallion for their extensive reporting on the crash last April of a sightseeing helicopter in the Hudson River that killed 6 people. Do we have anyone accepting tonight for Channel 7 Eyewitness News? Yes! Come on up here.
I'll say I've been lucky enough to be up here before accepting awards, and every time I think it's going to get easier, but then I see the work that's done every year, and it's not. We're just honored to be, given this award. I stand up here as part of a very big team that day. We had just moved into our new building down there in Lower Manhattan, and then we started getting word that a helicopter had gone in the Hudson River, and there's nothing like a newsroom, when there's breaking news, and I mean, people were just starting to run out the door. So, this is all part of a big team effort, but we thank you so much for recognizing us.
Finally, we get to television and video feature. And those familiar with our awards will not be surprised at the name of the Medallion winner in this category, Walt Kane of News 12, who claims Silurian awards almost every year. His winner this year is Deadly Force. It is a riveting investigation into a series of controversial police shootings in New Jersey. But Walt tonight is at the Investigative Reporters and Editors Conference in Maryland. So for the first time, Walt cannot be with us in person, but he is with us in spirit, and we can congratulate him again. Yes, Walt. We're now nearing the conclusion of tonight's festivities, and to cap it off with our most important designation, the President's Award, is our president, Eileen Jacobson.
So one of the privileges in being the president of this august organization is that I get to highlight great journalism, the best of the best. And in this year's contest, we had the best of the best. So many superb entries that I decided we should give out 2 President's Awards. And Betsy and Tony will explain.
Happy to help out. A President's Award goes to the city, now the City Reporter, for a series by Haiti Chu and Gwyn Hogan entitled New NYC, Nation's Capital of Immigration Courthouse Arrest. Well done. Utilizing smuggled video shot inside an ICE detention center and lots of shoe leather reporting, this series exposed the poor treatment of immigrants arrested by ICE and the Border Patrol in New York City and detained at 26 Federal Plaza. Accepting are Heidi Chu and Gwyn Hogan. Come on up here. Congratulations.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate the honor, Silurians. Beautiful evening. When Trump took office, it wasn't really clear what immigration enforcement was going to look like in the city. I had covered the arrival of migrants for 2 years, and my beat was a little bit in flux. But then at the end of May, I started to get phone calls that there were these masked men in federal buildings snatching people. And I ran there a couple of times and I couldn't find them. And then I ran there the 3rd time and they were kind of everywhere. And for the first 3 weeks, I was the only reporter kind of watching these arrests, like running around the building, being like, what is happening? And we did a series of stories in the immediate days that started happening. And then basically my editors kind of gave me free rein to just basically cover that building for the next weeks. And we looked at data, which is how Heidi Chu got involved. And we were able to really measure that this was how immigration enforcement was happening in New York. And I just am so grateful to the Silurians and all of our editors that really gave us the flexibility to cover the shifting immigration enforcement in New York City and its impact on residents in the community.
And the second President's Award goes to NorthJersey.com, The Record, for two different series that exposed wrongdoing. The first of them was an investigation by Dina Yellen, which discovered a secret court order. Listen to this. Secret court order that had allowed the Catholic Diocese in Camden, New Jersey, to stymie a state investigation into sexual abuse by church officials. Stymie it for 7 years. The other NorthJersey.com series in print and video was a year-long investigation of unsafe conditions in privately run group homes for the disabled. Reporters Ashley Balcerzak, I hope that's correct, and Jean Rimbach illuminated the challenges faced by those who advocate reform of this system. Video producer Michael Karras complimented the package with an excellent documentary. So joining us from NorthJersey.com, The Record are Dina Yellen, Investigations editor Jim O'Neill, and executive editor Blake Kaplan. Come on up, folks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Blake Kaplan. I'm the new editor of The Record. I'm the new editor of The Record at NorthJersey.com. I've only been up here for about 6 months, but what I've learned in this time is that The Record does some amazing kick-ass journalism. And I just want to shout out to the cool kids over at Table 6, Liz Johnson, Ed Forbes, Alex Nussbaum, Jim O'Neill, and Dina Yellen. I'm so proud to I get to work with you every day, and thank you for the warm welcome that you've given me. I personally had nothing to do with these award-winning jobs, so let me turn the microphone over to the people who did the hard work. This is Dina Yellen.
Thank you so much for this honor, and thank you so much for making such a beautiful evening. My story came about because the Attorney General of New Jersey launched an investigation into clergy abuse in the state, and it was dragging on for years and stalled, and nobody knew why. And clergy abuse survivors around the state were calling me and emailing me and saying, "What's going on?" And I started digging into it, and it took months and months of reporting, a very determined reporting. And I discovered that there was a secret court hearing in which the Catholic Church had put the kibosh on the investigation. And this is a tactic that's been used nationwide by the church in order to stall these investigations. And once I published my report on this story, the Catholic Church then ended its rejection of this, and the investigation was able to continue. So I feel like it really made a difference. Thank you. And it really came about particularly because the very courageous clergy abuse victims who came forward and shared their stories with me over the years, and so I want to recognize them tonight and share this with them. I also want to give a shout out and a big thank you to my editor, Alex Nussbaum, who really made my work shine, and he kept pushing me to make it better. So thank you, Alex. And I want to give a shout out also to my colleagues from The Record and NorthJersey.com who are here tonight.
Hi, just a quick note about our Hidden at Home series. It took over a year to produce. Unfortunately, Ashley Balcerzak is at that same IRE conference, and Jean Rimbach just is overcoming foot surgery, so she couldn't be here either. But we were looking at a widespread pattern of group home abuse in New Jersey. These are private homes in residential neighborhoods and operated by private companies. And we started looking at one company in particular. Then we soon realized there were many companies doing the same egregious behavior. They were trained, underpaid, overworked staff. And then we realized even beyond that, the state itself was negligent in its oversight of these group homes. So we found dozens of suspicious deaths that went uninvestigated by the state. If they were investigated, families were not getting information about what happened. And probably the best part of all of this was a interactive database that we created. Up till then, families who were trying to find a group home for their loved one didn't really have a way to figure out, well, is this group home good? Is this one bad? Do they have any lawsuits against them? Do they have any bad reports by the state? And we were able to take hundreds of thousands of document pages from lawsuits and reports, put it all together, and now people can go look up group home by group home, whether they're really a place where they want to keep their loved one. So it was a really great public service project, and thank you so much to the Silurians for recognizing our work. Thank you.
We're finishing up tonight, and before I bring back our president for final thoughts, Eileen Jacobson, I just want to say it is really my honor to be in a room like this with people of such great talent and dedication to the work of journalism, and I'm just proud to be part of this, and I thank all of you. Eileen?
Let's have a round of applause for all our wonderful winners. And let's hear it for Tony, Betsy, Alan, Michael, and the award judges, along with the terrific attentive staff, if any of them are in here, who take good care of us at the National Arts Museum. Being president for the last 2 years has been an honor and a privilege. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to making our monthly program so entertaining and informative. Now, as my last official act, I also want to thank the woman who has made this evening happen. Our dinner chair, Fran Carpentier. And wait. Fran is now officially our new president. So you get the last word.
I have the mic. On behalf of all the Silurians, thank you, Eileen, for your leadership for the past 2 years. You always put the well-being of our entire membership first, not just the well-being and interests of the Board of Governors. You led the Silurians Press Club with wisdom and grace, even when some of us were behaving less like muckraking journalists and more like rowdy pirates. That's not a sigh of relief, that's a gasp. A gasp of realization of the new considerable weight on my shoulders. That is to say, the responsibility of leading this august group for the next 2 years. Let me be clear. I love this press club. I hold every one of its members in the highest regard, and I shall do my very best to serve them. Please indulge me for a moment. Here is a message that was emailed to me on Monday. It was completely unsolicited, and it came from a Silurian whom I've never met. It sums up who and what the Silurians are. Dear Fran, congratulations on being elected as president of the Silurians. I have come to believe that the Silurians are the most important of many terrific journalism groups in the New York City region. The membership alone is testimony to that. But the most important gift that the Silurians provide is that the group continually reminds the world of journalism's highest standards and the need to preserve them. Take that in for a minute. So, putting aside the lightheartedness of the Strait of Hormuz t-shirts and the goodie bags of the custom-made cookies, I want to be serious and state outright that everyone in this room is my hero. I also want to start out with Pat Dolan, who always supports his writers, his editors, his photographers, and he supports the Silurians every year, and it's also his birthday. So a round of applause for Pat Dolan. Now, in addition to you all being my hero, you're frankly also my drug. Because the work that you do has a powerful and addictive effect. You make your living by informing the public by shedding light where darkness has no right to exist, and by holding power accountable. How dynamic a job description is that? I just wish that all of you were paid the salaries that you deserve. But regardless of the war being waged by the White House and its corporate allies on the media, don't stop what you're doing. Like the good wishes that I received on Monday, continue to adhere to the world of journalism's highest standards and do everything you can to preserve them. Everyone in the room, please take home a copy of Silurian News with Michael Serrell's superb article about tonight's award winners. Shout out to the National Arts Club and their staff for taking such wonderful care of us. Best regards, and good wishes to Bill Ritter of Eyewitness News. Thank you for a rewarding night. I look forward to seeing you and to celebrating you again next year. Thank you.